Tonight we are going to talk about the blends and compulsives. I know last week I gave you a little question about thinking, what if you're a melancholy phlegmatic or a choleric phlegmatic? And I know that what happens is when you guys got your temperaments at the beginning of the class, this whole time you're wondering, but that's not me. She keeps talking about the choleric and I don't do that. Or she keeps talking about the melancholy and I don't do that. Tonight it's all going to make sense because everything we've learned, we're just going to put it all together. Okay, so let's start off with prayer. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity of bringing us together. We thank you for safe travels coming here, Father, and safe travels on our way home, Lord. We ask you that everything that we learned today will just bring it all together, Father. We thank you for this knowledge that you have given someone that was able to give it to us. I ask you for each and every life represented in this classroom, Lord. I ask that you bless them, Lord. Bless them to the point of no belief. In your name we pray, amen. Okay, so before I start with blends and compulsives, let's review. Melancholy, what can you tell me? Genius prone, thinking, depressive, what else? Active, what else do we know? Are they loyal or not? Yes. Are they responsible or not? Very responsible, very organized, very perfectionist, right? Thinking a lot. Okay, perfect. Choleric, what do we know about the choleric? Very cruel, abusive, very stressed. They work all the time, task-oriented, visionary, right? They can be abusive. They very dominant, very manipulative, right? Okay. What do we know about the sanguine? Irresponsible, happy, people person. All about the feelings. Yes, that fear. And what do we know about that pendulum in control? Do you guys remember that? Right? So it will go from dependent to independent depending on what they feel. Okay? What about the supine? What do we know about the supine? Servant. They like to serve. They're very loyal. They'll do whatever needs to be done. They'll sacrifice themselves. Right? And what do we know about the phlegmatic, which we mentioned last week? Very slow. Peace at all costs. They're just like, blah. Right? Low energy, peace at all costs. Very critical. Thinking too. Okay. So today we're going to talk about, like I mentioned, blends and compulsives. And I'm going to start with the compulsives first. Okay? Because I can't mention the blends until we talk about the compulsives. The compulsive is very easy to explain. If you look at your graph, which looks like this one, right? Your compulsives are at the end of the graph. Okay? Very simply, compulsive is the more you get, the more you want. That's your actual definition of a compulsive temperament. The more you get, it's the more you want. So, let's say, again, melancholy. We said the melancholy is depressive. The melancholy is loyal. The melancholy is genius prone. The melancholy, what else? Very organized, right? So we have organized, task oriented. Okay. So that's a regular melancholy, right? A melancholy compulsive, it's compulsively depressed. Compulsively low self-esteem. Compulsively organized. Compulsively loyal. See how that works? That's what, the more they get. And the more I can organize as a melancholy compulsive, the more I want to. Okay? The more alone time I get as a melancholy compulsive, the more alone time I want. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's talk about the choleric. The choleric, you guys said, abusive, cruel, task-oriented, manipulative, leader, right? So that's a choleric. We all agree? A choleric compulsive, compulsively abusive, compulsively cruel, compulsively task-oriented, compulsively a leader. So the more power hungry I get, the more power you give me, the more I want. Okay? The more tasks I do, the more tasks I want. It's like a drug. The more I get, the more I want. Okay? So it can be both good and bad, because now you have someone, let's talk about the cleric for a minute. You have someone that can compulsively do tasks. So this is the person that if you're trying to build a church, they will compulsively get that church done. But it can also be bad because they will compulsively abuse people. They will compulsively put people down. Compulsively manipulate them. So sanguine. We said the sanguine is people. It's all about the feelings. It's all about that pendulum swing, right? So imagine a sanguine compulsive. Compulsively all about my feelings. Compulsively people-oriented. Compulsively needs to go to parties. Compulsively needs to be around people. Compulsively irresponsible. Supine. Servant. Loyal. Will sacrifice themselves. Supine compulsive. Compulsively sacrifices itself. Compulsively loyal. Compulsively servant. See how that works? See how interesting that compulsive makes it? And here's the interesting thing. Does the phlegmatic have a compulsive? No. There is no such thing as a phlegmatic compulsive. Praise God. Because they don't have the energy for it. Okay? Thank God there's no such thing as compulsively lazy, because we'd be in trouble. So one little thing I want to point out. You guys understand what compulsives mean? Because I want to spend the bulk of our time in our blends, but I want to make sure that you understand the compulsives. Yes? So, one of the things I want to point out is we have our beautiful graph, right, with our temperaments, and we've always seen it as a plain piece of paper. I want you to imagine that to be a ball. Okay? Can you imagine with me? So this, instead of a piece of paper, imagine it's a ball. Yes? The thing about the temperaments is you never fit exactly in the box you have. So I could tell you, oh, I'm a 6'3" in inclusion, right? So that puts me in a little box. And this is why at the beginning you guys were like, oh, that's not me. I'm not really a melancholy. I'm not really a choleric, or whatever. It's because, yes, you are a 6'3", but you also have tendencies of the boxes that touch you, you act like those. Okay? So in my case, I'm a 6'3". I'm right next to the phlegmatic. So I have a tendency of, I'm a choleric. Like, that's who I am. A 6'3" is a choleric. I'm a choleric. I'm a type A personality. I'm doing the job. I'm task-oriented. Let's just do this. But I'm right next to the phlegmatic. So there's certain days where I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like being the boss, so that you take over. Right? The same thing happens with the sanguine. The same thing happens with the supine. It's whatever they touch. And then the compulsives are the most interesting one if we look at our temperament as a ball. Because the compulsives' temperament, when they are stressed to the point of breaking, not just like, oh, I'm stressed, life is hard, but to the actual point of breaking, each compulsive temperament will act like its opposite. This is why you'll see, and I know we all know them, you'll see a triple melancholy compulsive. When they get stressed, they talk a lot. You ever notice that? Someone who's always been very quiet, they don't say a lot, but one day they're so stressed that they just won't shut up. And they're like, and this, and you're sitting there like, you never talk. Why are you talking now? And it's because they're acting like a sanguine. Or this is why you have a sanguine who loves people. They love being out. It's all about the feeling. When they're stressed, they lock themselves in their room. Like a melancholy would. Right? We've seen that. And that's because I'm so stressed that I start acting like my opposite. The choleric, when it's so stressed, they start acting like a supine, so they start doubting themselves. I don't know if I'm making the right decision. I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I'm doing too much work. I don't know. A lot of I don't know. Which is not natural for a choleric. A choleric will never say I don't know because, hello, look at me, I know everything. Like there's God and then there's me. Right? So when a choleric starts stressing out, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know. What do you think we should do? That's stress. The supine, the opposite. The supine who's always, I don't know. You tell me what to do. When they're stressed, they're like, all right, this is what we're doing. And this is the person who's never said anything and suddenly they're bossing everyone around. And you're like, I don't know what I missed. What just happened? Okay? The compulsives will act like they're opposite when they're stressed. Does that make sense? Or did I confuse you even more? Let me know if I confused you because you have to remember, it makes sense in my head. But I need it to make sense in you guys' head. So does that make sense? Yes? Sure. So each temperament, each compulsive temperament will act like the complete opposite of itself when they're stressed. Okay? So a sanguine will act like a melancholy. A melancholy will act like a sanguine. A choleric will act like a supine, and a supine will act like a choleric. And this is not every day. This is when you're at your breaking point. You're at your like if God doesn't take me out of this one, I don't know what will happen point. Yes? So that's our basic compulsives. Again, the more the compulsive is, the more you get, the more you need, the more you want. Okay? It's like I mentioned, for example, the choleric is once I have control, I want more control. The sanguine, once I have people, I want more people because it felt good. It's all about the feeling, remember? So if I go to a party and it feels good, I want more parties to keep feeling good. Does that make sense? So now let's move over to the blends. Okay. The blends. The only temperament that will blend with others is the phlegmatic. And this is very important. The only temperament that will blend with others is the phlegmatic. I will explain that. But again, that's basically what you need to know. The only temperament, there is no such thing as, I'm a melancholy sanguine or I'm a melancholy choleric. That's impossible. The only temperament that will blend with others is the phlegmatic. So, the way this works. Back in our first class, I talked about wanted and expressed. Remember, in your temperaments, it says you have two numbers. Okay? So your first number is your expressed. This is your action. Okay? The first number is your expressed or your action. The second number is your wanted or your reaction. We good so far? So first one is express action. Second one is wanted reaction. Yes? So, for example, I just told you guys I'm a 6'3". That means my express is 6. Yes? My reaction is 3. Yes? We all agree so far? I know, this is like a math class, but we all agree so far? Good. So, when you have a blend, the first name, because it's your first number, is your action. The second is your reaction. We agree, yes? We good so far? So if I tell me melancholy. Something about a melancholy. Come on, what are you doing? Genius prone, depressive, Okay, so we'll go with those. Genius, prone, and depressive. Got it. So if I am a melancholy phlegmatic, my action is melancholy, right? Because it's the first number. Yes? So my action is genius, prone, and depressive. We agree so far. The second was what? My wanted or reaction. What's the second one in melancholy phlegmatic? What's the second word? Phlegmatic. So my reaction is phlegmatic. What do we know about a phlegmatic? Low energy. Critical. We could go with critical, right? So if I am a melancholy phlegmatic, yes, I show you my depressive genius prone. But when something happens, I react low energy critical. Did I lose you or? Okay, I know. I kind of lost half of you guys there. That's okay. So, again, first one, action. Second one, reaction. Okay? First one, melancholy. Action. Action, melancholy. Genius prone, low self-esteem, depressive, looking for rejection. I'm going to use that example. Looking for rejection. So I'm a melancholy, phlegmatic. I come into the room looking for rejection. The second he rejects me, I don't react like a melancholy, which is, I knew he didn't like me. I react like a phlegmatic. I don't care. Yes? What if it's the opposite? Phlegmatic melancholy. I come into the room with, I don't care. But when he rejects me, I knew he didn't like me. Yes? So the first one is action. The second one is reaction. So last week I asked you about the low self-esteem. We said a melancholy has low self-esteem. A phlegmatic has good self-esteem. How does that work? My action is to have low self-esteem. My action is he's never going to love me. When he actually doesn't love me, my reaction is, that's fine. I'll move on to the next person. Right? Or, low self-esteem, he's never going to love me. He loves me. Oh, okay, I guess I love him back. Whatever takes the less energy. Because my reaction is phlegmatic. So whatever takes the less energy. If loving you takes less energy, then I love you. If not loving you takes the less, then I don't love you. It's whatever takes the less energy. Does that make sense? So let's say, for example, sanguine. What do we know about the sanguine? People-oriented, happy, all about the feelings, very responsible, always like to go out. Okay? What do we know about the phlegmatic? Low energy, lazy, procrastinator. Okay, so tell me a sanguine phlegmatic. Right. So the action is sanguine. Sanguine phlegmatic. Action, first one, sanguine. All about the people. All about the feeling. I want to be with people. I want to go out. But let's say I want to go out. Let's go to the movies. Let's go to the movies. And no one here goes to the movies with me. Will I be upset? Why not? I don't care. If I was a pure sanguine, would I be upset? Yes. Totally upset, because how are you not my friend? I'm your teacher. You should love me. right? But once you add that phlegmatic, and like think of it as paint, okay? So the sanguine is pure red paint, like fire red, okay? So if, let's say we have paint, I have a can of red paint, and that's your sanguine. A sanguine compulsive is you adding black and red to that paint. It makes it more vibrant, right? But when it's a blend, like sanguine phlegmatic, you're adding white paint to it. So it makes it pink. It gets rid of that compulsiveness. So compulsive and blend are the complete opposites. So a choleric, okay? So choleric, task-oriented, it's all about the job, abusive, cruel, manipulative leader. Choleric compulsive, compulsively abusive, compulsively leader, compulsively task-oriented. Choleric phlegmatic, do the job, and then the second you're like, I don't want to, oh, okay. So I'll abuse you until I run out of energy. And then I'm like, hitting you takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. Melancholies, we said they go into that downward spiral. Remember I mentioned the downward depressive spiral? Okay. So regular melancholy, for lack of words, downward spiral. A melancholic compulsive, it's a compulsive downward spiral. A melancholic phlegmatic, oh, I'm depressed, but depression takes energy, so I'm just going to stay right here. Until something else makes me sad, then I'm like, oh, and I'm sad, but this is taking a lot of energy, so I'm just going to go back up. Because being blah took no energy. Being depressed is taking a lot of energy. Okay. The last one we haven't covered, supine. What do we know about the supine? Servant, loyal, sacrifice, low self-esteem. Okay. Servant, loyal, sacrifice, low self-esteem. Give me phlegmatic supine. What's the action? Action is they don't care. They don't show anything. Laziness, low energy. What's the reaction? Serve. So if I come into the room and I go, alright, I guess I'll teach if you guys want me to teach or not. I don't care if you're on your phones or whatever. Right? If I said that as a teacher, what would you think? Okay, she doesn't care. I'm on my phone. But if I was a phlegmatic supine, I would come in doing that, like, I don't care. But the second you take out your phone, there goes that low self-esteem. I'm not going to do anything about it. Because I'm phlegmatic, so I'm not going to act on it. But then I'm going to go home disappointed that you weren't paying attention. Upset that you didn't care. But I told you I didn't care. So think about it. As another temperament, you're like, but she said she didn't care. Right? Like if I tell you I don't care, where are we going to go eat? I don't care. And then you're like, okay, let's get pizza. And then I start crying at the pizzeria because I'm allergic to pizza. You're going to be like, you should have told me. I asked, what do you want to eat? You said, I don't care. That's how that works. It could be the complete opposite. It could be, what do you want to eat? And I'm a choleric, we're going to have Mexican. And you tell me I'm allergic to Mexican, but I want Mexican. And then when we get to the Mexican place, I don't order anything because I'm like, I don't care. Phlegmatic choleric is the same, so it's the same thing. I'm saying I don't care as a phlegmatic, right? Because the first one is action, remember? So phlegmatic choleric, first one, action. I don't care. Peace at all costs. And the second he goes, we're getting pizza. No, we're not. And then we'll go to the pizzeria and I'll sit like a 2-year-old. I'm not hungry, hurry up, I want to go home. And he's thinking, you said you didn't care. Why do you, see how that works? See how it makes you look crazy? So all the blends, it comes like that. The first name will be your action. The second name will be your reaction. And it's always depending on the area. Let's say melancholy, phlegmatic, and affection. What do we know about a melancholy and affection? Introvert. They don't say, but they show. So I love you by doing the task. Okay? Low self-esteem. Right? I don't think anyone's ever going to love me. I don't think I deserve love because whatever insecurity I may have, my hair is too long or my hair is too short. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I don't dress appropriately. I'm too tall. I'm too short, right? What if I was a melancholy compulsive? Oh, I love the reaction. Oh, if I was a melancholy compulsive, then I know no one's going to love me. Instead of I think no one's going to love me, it's I know no one's going to love me. I know I don't deserve your love. And I'm compulsively in that downward spiral. I'm compulsively self-doubting myself. But if I'm a melancholy phlegmatic, I know he's not going to love me, but okay, so I'll just move on. Maybe I'm not meant to be married. Not everybody's meant to be married. Not everyone's meant to go to school. Not everyone's meant to have kids. Right? It's interesting. Especially once you start putting it all together. Because remember, there's 3 areas of temperament. What are they? Inclusion, control, and affection. Right? So, unless you are exactly the same numbers in all 3 areas, which is very, very rare, you're a whole very complex person. Very complex person. Because you can be one thing in one area, another thing in another area, and if you have it blend, now you got a whole bunch of mess going on in your life. This is why I said at the beginning it's such an important class, because speaking on a personal level, it's helped me realize why I do certain things. Why I do things like when I get stressed, I go to work. What calms me down is starting a new project. Because remember, like I told you guys, the biggest issue with a choleric is losing control. Right? So if I'm losing control, I need to do something I can control. So let me stay at work because I can control that. Right? And when I say losing control, I'm not talking about like a major life event. It could be something very, very dumb, like my phone fell and the screen cracked. That's something I can't control. Now I'm stressed. Right? But this is where it makes it interesting because, I keep saying I'm choleric, I'm choleric, I'm choleric. That's not true. I'm choleric in inclusion. I'm choleric, compulsive, and control. But I'm melancholy, phlegmatic, and affection. Oh, the faces! I love it. So what does that mean? Talk about me. Okay, tell me how crazy I am. Melancholy, phlegmatic, and affection. So that means, what's inclusion? Give me a definition of inclusion. Your social setting. Right? Inclusion is this. Social setting. So it's in this classroom, when we're in the hallways, if we see each other at church, right? That's where we're at. So I'm what? I'm choleric. Meaning you'll always see my choleric. Right? What's control? Decision making. Right? I'm choleric compulsive. So if we work together, if we have an issue, let's say right now my mic stopped working or the translator stopped working or something like that, then you would see my choleric compulsive, right? Because it's something I can't control. Will you ever see my melancholy? Why not? Exactly. Because affection is your deep personal relationships. Okay? So my melancholy, you'll never see. Does that make sense? So some people, for example, let's say I was choleric in all 3, then you would always see my choleric. But I'm the kind of person that, again, you'll always see me in control. The choleric's always in control, right? The cholerics have high self-esteem. We know that. So every time you guys see me in this class, every week you see me, she's always in control. She talks about herself. She keeps mentioning she's fat, but she clearly doesn't care, right? You see that control, that choleric. But then I go home, and my mom might make a comment and say, those jeans are a little tight. And suddenly I'm like, oh my God, I really am fat. But I have phlegmatic. So in 5 minutes, I'm like, well, obviously I'm not too fat because I can still buy clothes. Think about it. Right? See how that works? See how interesting that is? So again, you guys are always going to see my inclusion. That's how the differences works. I could be the opposite. I could be melancholy in inclusion and choleric in affection. So I could be very concerned about what you guys think about me. I want to make sure you think I'm the greatest teacher you've ever had. I come very prepared. I wouldn't even be wearing jeans right now. Right? Because I need to present myself. Remember, the melancholies need to look in control. So I have a PhD. I need to look like a doctor. My hair would be up. It wouldn't be down. Right? More makeup to look good for the TV. This wouldn't be on my wrist. I wouldn't be wearing jeans. I wouldn't be moving around too much because I have to look, right, as a melancholy. So if I'm a melancholy in inclusion and a choleric in affection, what happens? When I go home, how do I treat my family? Do I care what they think? Does a choleric ever care what anybody else think? No. Wouldn't that be interesting? If I cared more about the opinion of strangers than of my own parents? Remember, what do we know about a choleric in affection? Love is at my own terms. I trust myself more than I trust my family. There are people like that. There are people who care more about what a stranger thinks of me than my own husband. There's people that I care the both. What if I'm a 9-9 sanguine compulsive in inclusion and a 9-9 sanguine compulsive in affection? How does that work? What do you guys think? Same. So I would treat you and my husband the same way. You think my husband would like that? Absolutely not. I'm going to be in trouble. I might sleep in the car tonight. Right? So in my case, it's funny, and I mentioned that because, for example, I told you guys my real temperament, I'm melancholy, phlegmatic, and affection. Yes? We said that. I have a younger sister. She's 4 years younger than me. My sister is sanguine, compulsive in inclusion, and sanguine, compulsive in affection. She'll treat, like if she walked into this room, she will treat you guys the same way she treats me. Do you think I like that? No. She's my sister. We share the same blood. I'm more special than anybody else. Right? So it's interesting because it's happened in the past. I make plans with my sister and I'm like, hey, she'll ask me, what do you want to do tomorrow? Oh, let's just go to the movies. And she'll go, okay, we'll go to the movies. So that's the plan, right? And then the day comes and she'll text me, hey, I'm going out with so-and-so. I'm your sister. I should be more important than so-and-so. But in her mind, she doesn't see it that way. Right? How do you fix that? Besides God? It's all about, again, and this is why I said at the beginning, this class is all about you knowing who you are. If I know that that's my weakness, then I need to make something about it. So how has she fixed it? Because she has. I thank God we have great communication because I told her once, I was like, look, I don't like that you do that. I don't like that you pick going out with these people you don't know over me. So we came to an agreement. I have phlegmatics. I'm all about the diplomat thing. So we came to an agreement. Friday nights is our night. She's not allowed to do anything on Friday night because that's the day she's hanging out with me. Every other day, I don't even have to see you. Right? That was our agreement. So she gets to go out all the time. Fridays is our thing. And if we can't on Fridays because she actually has some blah blah blah, then you gotta give me at least 2. Like, you have to schedule me in. So it's things like, okay, so it's not Friday night, so let's do Saturday morning breakfast. And then we'll go to breakfast, and that's the 2 hours that I get to be important. I get to be special.
So isn't that you don't have the courage to call back or say, I'm sorry, I mean, I have a schedule.
The sanguine?
Yes, the one thing everybody.
Because it's all about the feeling. So, in my sister's mind, I can either go to the movies with my sister and it'll just be the 2 of us, or I can go to a party where there's like 100 people and I get to dress up. What do you think a sanguine is going to pick? Obviously not the boring movie with just my sister, right? Because you have to remember, in her mind, in the sanguine mind, oh, Natalia's my sister. I can talk to her anytime I want. Right? You got in trouble for that? I think a lot of us get in trouble for that. I mean, I already mentioned I'm getting in trouble with my husband because I'm treating him the same way. So I think all of us are in trouble. But see how that works? So again, going back to the example of me, my personal temperament, I told you guys, I'm choleric and inclusion. So you'll never see me cry. Will a choleric cry in front of other people? Absolutely not. It's illegal. That's illegal. You can't do that. The only time you'll see me cry is because I'm trying to get something. Right? But if not, you're not going to see me cry. I'm always in control. But then I go home, and suddenly I'm like, I don't know if they like me. I don't know. I start doubting myself because that melancholy kicks in. I don't know if I'm a good enough teacher. They weren't laughing at my jokes like they did last week. And I start that doubt. But then next week, I'm going to come and teach exactly the same way, whether you like it or not. Because you guys are in my inclusion. What if I was supine in inclusion? Serving. Always serving. I will teach what you guys want me to teach. Do you want to learn about blends or you want to learn about something else? And then I go home and I'm sanguine. What happens then? Right? So, if I'm supine in inclusion, sanguine in affection, how will I treat you as a supine? Serve you. You want more water? You want more coffee? And then I go home, how do I treat my husband as a sanguine? Oh, babe, I'm going out with my sister tonight. I'll see you later. Will my husband like that? No, never. See how that works? See, so you asked me, how do you fix that? I mentioned it back 8 weeks ago. It's about knowing your weaknesses. If I know that my weakness and control, for example, me personally, is that compulsively cruel, compulsively abusive. If I know that's my weakness and that's what I have to work on, I don't need to work on my leadership skills because I'm compulsively a leader. Right? So that's already strong. You don't work on that. Leave it alone. Just let it sit there. But I know that I can't be cruel. What would Jesus do? He would not be cruel. I know that much. So I know that's my weakness. That's what I have to work on. So I have to work on talking to myself. Natalia, be nice. So I do that. You'll see me sometimes I'm like, don't do that, Natalia. Be nice. Like I'll hit myself in the hand like, bad Natalia. Don't do that. Right? Because I know that that's my weakness. If I know that my weakness is treating him the same way I treat my husband. If I know that that's my weakness, I need to put up a wall. I need to realize who am I married to? Not him. So my commitment has to be to my husband. So it's a simple, I'm sorry, but I need to create some space. You're a great friend, but because I know that's my weakness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's really good.
Huh?
I'm saying it's kind to dissimulate.
Yes. Right, right. So if I know that that's my weakness, I mentioned this with the boxers, okay? Has everybody seen boxing? You know what boxing is? Right, okay. So, when a boxer, so let's say we're going to get into a fight, right? We're boxers. Please don't hurt me bad, okay? We're boxers. I'm right-handed, meaning this arm is strong. My left doesn't do anything. So if I'm preparing for a fight, you think my practice is this? No. I'm here. Because my strength is in my right. So I don't need to worry about my right. What I need to worry about is my left. Now, if I know he's really bad at defending himself with his right, I'm definitely going to work on my left. That's how the enemy does it. If the enemy knows I defend myself like this, alright, he's like, okay, so with this hand, she's covering her whole face. But with this one, she's only covering her chin. I can hit her up here. That's what the enemy does. If the enemy goes, okay, look at Natalia. She never defends her left. Left upper corner. Where do you think the enemy's going to hit me? Hitting that upper left corner. So if I know that's my weakness, what am I going to work on? Cover this side. Cover this side. Cover this side. Right? Because I know that's my weakness. That's what coaches are for. That's what your pastors, that's what this class, I'm basically your coach right now. And I'm telling you, this is your weakness. Work on it. If your weakness is, I love people and I'm irresponsible, work on it. Work on responsibility. Get a journal. Get a notebook where you write down everything you have to do, and you are not allowed to look at your phone until you get that done. You know, I always say that. I'm like a little kid. Reward yourself. If you know you struggle with doing homework, what do you like? Chocolate? Put little chocolates in the thing. And every time you read a paragraph, you get to eat that chocolate. Discipline, right? Because if you know what your weakness is, that's what you work on. Because that's where the enemy's going to attack you. The enemy's not going to attack you on your strong side because he knows he's going to lose. Right? The enemy's not going to be like, all right, I'm going to wait for Natalia to hit me with her right because she's right-handed. The enemy's not going to do that. The enemy's going to think Natalia doesn't use her left, ever. She never covers her upper left temple. That's where the enemy's going to come. Yeah? Does that make sense? So do we understand the difference between blends and compulsives? Okay, so remember, the compulsive, the more you get, the more you want, okay? And blends, it numbs it down a little. I'm depressed, but not too much because it takes energy. I'm very cruel and abusive, but not too much because it takes energy, okay? I love people and go to parties. Do you know how much energy it takes to go to a party? Right? I'm a servant. I'll do whatever you want me to do, but not too much because it takes too much energy. Okay? Have you guys learned anything? So, thank you guys so much for being in this class. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. And hopefully I'll see you guys again.